When we're young, we have an amazing, positive outlook about how great life is going to be, but somewhere along the line, we forget to dream and end up settling. Join Up Dots features amazing people who refuse to give up and chose to go after their dreams. This is your blueprint for greatness. So here's your host, live from the back of his garden in the UK, David Ralph.
Yes, hello there. Good morning, everybody in Join Up Dots land. Thank you for being here. Thank you because you've focused me. You've focused my mind to become professional. Because the lady I've got on the show, she has a way of taking me off track and making me chat and gossip and do all the kind of things that I'm not renowned for. But the last time that we were supposed to record, she basically screwed up. She screwed up and she had somebody more important lined up than myself. But I was relaxed. I was chilled. And I said, let's just chat for half hour. And basically, we've just done the same thing for about another 20 minutes. So I'm on it now. I'm going to record this episode of Join Up Dots because she is a lady who we've got to have on the show because you might mistake for Superwoman. And if you do, you won't be alone. She's regularly featured on television news segments, inside major blogs and publications, and on podcasts from all over the globe. She's an accomplished success coach, speaker, host of the Maximise Your Strengths podcast, as well as published author of the hot new book From Frustrated to Frickin Awesome, 4 steps to achieve the success you're wired for. But more than anything else, she's an exceedingly proud wife and mother of 2 who loves helping others discover how to make their businesses and relationships thrive in harmony. But this was as far from her starting point as you can possibly imagine. Graduating from St. Catherine University with a post-degree in nursing, she entered into the medical profession as a clinical dietitian and registered nurse before a 4-year stint as a beauty consultant for Mary Kay. So from my viewpoint, she's always had a kind of nurturing side to her character, wanting people to look and feel good as they can right from the outset. And so you can see that where she is now is as far away as she could be, but also very similar in concept. She's found a way to maximise her strengths, provide more value to the world, and enjoy herself in the process. As she says, while I've always been interested in self-development, in the last 9 years, I dove into investment in my training, self-improvement, and coaching. In addition to classroom-style learning, I've gained valuable knowledge from seminars, home coaching programs, group coaching programs, one-on-one coaching relationships, book self-study, and real-life successes and failures. My clients benefit from all that education and experience wrapped into one business coach. So people, you might find you've got something to do naturally, your unique strength. How do you do it? Well, upskill yourself and then solve the problem of others in that area. It seems simple, doesn't it? So if this is a blueprint for success, why do so many people struggle with finding their way through the pain and scarcity to make a success of their lives? And when was the moment when she sat bolt upright in bed and screamed, "Erueeerka, I know what I should be doing in my life"? I don't know why she's got a German accent, but anyway, let's find out as we bring onto the show to start joining up dots with the one and only Alissa Daire Nelson. Good morning to you. How are you?
Oh my goodness, what an intro. I am fantastic. How are you?
I'm always fantastic. You know that because you make me gossip, you make me chat, you make me become less professional. I have thrown down my cloak of podcasting legend and you've seen me naked.
I bring out the conversationalist in you. He's in there somewhere.
Yeah,
so when we get on, you just can't help it.
The way I operate in life is if it's not being recorded, what's the point in opening my mouth? Isn't that how it should be as a podcaster?
Completely efficient. I love how you think.
So let's get straight to it, Alissa. Last time that you was on the show, you screwed up. You basically had somebody more important than me. And because I was a bit fed up with podcasting, we just had a chat. But it became evident that you was a real people person from chatting with me. I felt like I'd known you all my life. Is that a real kind of strength? Is that one of your strengths that you bring to the table, that ability to sort of connect on such a personal and natural way?
Yeah, it really truly is one of my superpowers. It's one of those things where I think that a stranger is just a friend that I haven't met yet. And so and so when I connect with people, that's what it feels like. It feels like a couple of old friends just meeting up. And I heard that all my life about, I feel like I can open up to you, or I feel like I can just tell you anything. And I'm like, well, that's great. And I thought that was kind of how everybody felt. Like, I'm kind of an open book and you're an open book. So, hey, let's do this. But when I realized that it wasn't, something everybody could do, that it was unique to me, suddenly I could take a little bit more pride in it, and also, honor the person on the other side a little bit differently. Like, oh, well, thank you for being willing to enter in to a great conversation with me just right off the bat. So yeah, it is actually a superpower, and I'm glad that not everybody has it, because it makes my superpowers, a little more unique. But yeah, everyone's got their superpower. It's just about uncovering it.
I always think that a stranger is just a stalker that I haven't met yet. That's how I kind of operate. Totally different. But does that ever sort of burn you when you are so open? Do people then throw things back at you and you think, oh, how the hell did they know? Oh, I remember telling them that last time.
Yeah, there has been times where that's burnt me a bit, and there's times where the other thing that comes along with that is I'm very, very trusting, and I like to think that I am not gullible, and I've had enough life experience now that I can sense red flags when they come up.
No, you can't. No, you can't. No.
I totally can. Yes,
no,
I can.
That's rubbish. No, man. This old thing about as you get old, you become more wise. It's just about you've already done certain mistakes. If you replicate those mistakes, then you're an idiot. But you can't see red flags. Nobody can.
Sometimes you really can, and there's different things that come up. You're like, that doesn't quite fit, and so then I tend to put a little bit of a guard up anyway. But I would rather be trusting and get burned occasionally than to walk around in this state of skepticism. And that has to do with, my positivity and the way that I am built. And there's other people who come much more cautiously. I just kind of, come onto the scene like, hey, here it is. I really do live my life as an open book, because I think, even the most vulnerable of stories and experiences that I've had, when I share those with other people, there's power in that, because then sometimes they can actually avoid the mistakes I've made, which if someone else can learn from my painful mistakes, that's kind of a win, I think.
Well, it is. And so let's go from an open book that you are to your book. Now, I don't normally ever sort of promote people's books on the show, even though they desperately try to do it. But I'm intrigued by yours, because yours is From Frustrated to Frickin Awesome, 4 steps to achieve the success you're wired for. Only 4. Because literally every book is 962 steps that you can do. Why is it only 4? How have you managed to get it down to 4? Because that's what everyone wants, isn't it?
Right. We want simplicity. That is what we want. So the 4 steps, I'll just name them really quickly. One is know thyself. Get to know yourself. And there's several things that encompass who you are and why you are not just one of 7 billion, right? But you're the only you that has ever walked the earth, as far back as humankind has gone, and that ever will walk the earth, because you're the only one who has the strengths that you have, the superpowers, that has the life experiences, that has the values and the education. You're it. And so really identifying what is that thing that just makes me so great. But then, that's where a lot of the woo-woo books sort of stop.
Yeah.
And you walk away from the book going, yeah, I'm pretty great. This is wonderful. But it's not applicable. So now the next step is creating a plan that will actually propel you forward to where you do want to go in your life. So step 2 is just create a plan. Step 3 is implement that plan, right? Pretty simple. And step 4 is reflect on it. So now you've done it. What did you now learn about yourself? What are the experiences that you went through? What did they teach you? Did you celebrate the successes you had, et cetera? And then go right back to the beginning and go, okay, so now what does that mean about me?
And how did you do that in a book? That's like 4 pages. That's how I would do it. How do you spread that out into a book?
Well, so I do give people some thought-provoking activities that they go through in the book. I also give them thought-provoking questions, especially in the reflect chapter. It's a whole chapter of questions, because when you sit there and you reflect on, okay, so how did the last month, 2 months go? You're like, I don't know. They just happened. And so to get those, mental juices flowing, I give a lot of questions that you can ask that will start to really enlighten. Because
Did you pad out, Alissa? Did you pad out? Did you look at it and think that chapter's a bit light? Let's throw a few more questions in.
No, I actually cut some questions out.
Oh, you did you?
When I got finished with this book, I went back and I hired and I had 2 editors. One who could really adjust things, the way that I'm thinking them, right, to actually make them look like words on paper that sound like me. And then I had my second editor. I lovingly call him the slasher, and I hired him to cut the superfluous stuff out of the book, because we've all read books that are like, is this still droning on? Like, why am I still reading this book?
Yeah, but it's your words though, isn't it? Are you not precious to have a book circumciser come in and snip the bits off? I'd be really protective.
Yeah, there was like 20 or 25% of the book that was actually removed after his work.
Do you know what I'm feeling? I'm feeling a director's cut. Just bang it out as a special edition, put it all back in.
It just seems like so much extra words now.
Yeah, well, as you was talking, a thought just popped into my head. And as you were saying at the very beginning, the key bit is getting to know yourself, the greatest version of yourself, how understanding who you are at your essence. Now, I was watching YouTube last night, and I've got a little bit of a thing for Katy Perry. Not so much now that she's cut all her hair off and she looks a bit strange, but beforehand. And she has done this thing over the last 4 days where she's gone into a kind of Big Brother kind of celebrity house. Have you seen this on the internet where she's just lived and they filmed her sleeping and eating, and other than going to the toilet and showering, her life is sort of out there? And I was thinking to myself, this is a bit weird. Why are you doing this? And one of the things that she's trying to do, she's trying to reconnect with her real self and not the Katy Perry character, which she kind of almost hates now. She wants to connect with the real essence, Kate Hudson as she was. And you see her doing therapy, and she's crying all the way through this therapy because she realizes that she's got this persona that the world wants, but she doesn't actually want. She wants to give them herself, but they don't want that. They want this other bit. How would you give advice if Katy Perry come through to you and you're saying, right, you've got to really know yourself and be your real self and your strengths and success? This kind of fantasy image she's created is the strengths. How does she balance that, do you think?
Yeah, I hearing that makes my heart hurt, because her story is so similar to just about everybody's story at some point or another, because we all want to be accepted. That's a human primal need, right? Is to be accepted by the tribe. And so we work really hard to make sure that everybody likes us, because it used to be important for survival. Right. Yeah. So all of that makes a lot of sense. The problem is that then we start to do everything they want us to do and live the life they want us to live, and we forget about our own. And that's why we have all of these, major issues with, we see it mainly in Hollywood and all of that, because we've got the paparazzi and whatever. These people who have made tons of money, and by all, the worldly measures are wildly successful, and yet they're completely miserable. And the biggest reason for that is they're not authentically them. They're not living out what's inside of them. So you think about Clark Kent, right? Are you a Superman fan?
I have known to be, I do. He's a bit boring, actually, Superman, isn't he? Out of all of them. He
is a little bit. But, you remember, the original Superman, how he would, Clark Kent would walk around and he'd kind of do his thing, and he was a reporter, and it was fine. He was getting through the day. But then he walked into that phone booth. And he came out and he was a completely different person, right? So we all have that Superman inside of us. But the problem is we walk around as Clark Kent all the time. Now, what would have happened if Clark Kent had never let his Superman out? Right? I mean, and obviously that's, kind of an extreme example, but this is why we love superhero movies, because it's like, oh, this person who, had this special thing, and look at the amazing, good that they did in the world. And also, supervillains are the same way. They just had a different value system.
Yeah, but no, I don't love superhero films. I find them kind of depressing because they've never got any friends. And they have to sort of hang around in alleyways a lot, dodging people. They never get laid, do they? You never see anyone. It's a real rubbish life being a superhero.
It can be. But then you look at like X-Men, and you look at, I just recently saw Guardians of the Galaxy, the second one with my kids, and we laughed all the way through it because here you've got this, Chris Pratt's character is this, kind of rebel. He seems like he's just a grown-up kid, and he's got all these character flaws, and he is a little bit awkward, and all of these things. But here's the crazy thing, is that deep inside he's got this superhero quality to him, right? That he's like, oh my goodness. And when he discovered it, like, it changed everything, right? And so while no, of course, we don't want to live in the shadows, right? And this is how Superman ended up having to live until he was finally outed. But here's the thing, is that what if we actually lived out our superhero powers? And why live these two different lives? And this is exactly what Katy Perry is struggling with as well, right? So she's trying to find herself, and yet she's trying to balance it with, but this is how I've made my livelihood. Can I be myself and still do that? Or do people only like me for that alternate persona? And so what a struggle, right? Because she doesn't want to be outed from the tribe. And so it does take courage to really figure out what are my superheroes or superpowers, and how can I live those out? But it is possible. And when you do it, now you're going to actually have energy, and you're going to love what you're doing, and you're going to connect with people in a more authentic and better way, because you're not trying to pretend all the time, and you're not trying to fix all of the things that aren't strengths anyway. Just do more of what you are great at, and then your weaknesses, for lack of a better term, right? They become less important. And it's not that you want to ignore them, right? Because, if you have a weakness, it could potentially kill you, right? Like, there could be a kink in the armor, and oh my gosh, how did I not see this? So it's not that you totally ignore those, but you can mitigate your weaknesses in a different way when you recognize what your strengths are.
I don't have any weaknesses. I don't.
No,
and it's only because I'm not interested in them. If it's something that I can't do, then I don't care. People say to me, oh, why don't you do this and why don't you do that? And I think, because I don't want to do them. It's just not part of me. I've got to a point now in my life, I only do what I do that makes me happy. I'll give you an example. How many times do you get an invite for something and you go, oh yeah, okay, yeah, that'd be good. I'll fit it into my calendar. And then on the afternoon, you think, oh, the last thing I want to do is go to that tonight. Oh, I'd rather sit in my underwear and watch Netflix tonight. I don't want to go there. And I think a lot of it comes down to energy. And I think there's certain energies that give back to you and excite you and make you think, yeah, I really want to go to that tonight. That's going to be great. That's going to be amazing. And we spend all our time giving our wrong energies away. We're giving it to people who just suck it and don't give it back, and we don't replenish ourselves. And so when it comes to weaknesses, I think there's too much effort to overcome the weakness. And so I don't bother with them. I just don't care. I just don't do it. And I only do stuff for people that I think deserve my energy, or that I'm going to be excited to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is why everyone's jealous of you, because you've made the decision that you're just simply not going to do those things. The population I work with one-on-one is the sole entrepreneur, and so they're like, David, that sounds great, but I still I have all of these tasks that I have to do for my business to actually run and function. So now what? I can't just ignore them or just not do them.
Yes, you can. So you can ignore it. And I'll tell you what, this goes out to all the listeners and all to your clients, anyone listening. There is not one part of your business that you cannot ignore, other than the key super strength territory that you have to bring in. For example, I cannot ignore doing a podcast. I couldn't have, well, I suppose I could have another host doing it, but This is my thing. My whole business is built around me talking to you on here. But everything else I can ignore. And more often than not, it doesn't make any difference. You think that you've got to be doing these tweets and this and that. You've got to be doing, if you focus in on what people like more than anything, then a lot of the stuff that you think that you should be doing doesn't matter. So I would say to all your clients, I would say literally every single part of your business, except for the core super talent, you can ignore.
Right. And or outsource.
Yeah.
Or outsource. And that
it's better to ignore it because you don't have to pay.
People don't want to outsource stuff, right? So, because they want to sort of micromanage it, and so that's a growth process in and of itself, to be able to let go of those things. And tweeting is not my jam. It's not my thing. So I let go of that. I think I tweet maybe once a week or so. That's only.
Why? Why do you do that? Once a week? There's no point.
I know. Only I check it occasionally, and then I'm like, oh well, I'll respond to this person because I like to engage with people. That's fun for me. But Twitter in and of itself isn't a soundbite conversations aren't really something I like. So I much prefer engaging on Facebook. That's where I like to engage. So I spend my time there when I am engaging on social media.
And that is something that when I started Join Up Dots, and I talk about this a lot, but at the beginning, the name of Pat Flynn used to be always mentioned. Everybody was talking about Pat Flynn all the time, and you don't really hear his name as much, but he had this thing about be everywhere. Be everywhere. Spread your word in every sort of format. Now I'm seeing a big push towards people, and this makes total sense to me, building a business around where your people are waiting. So if your people are the kind of people that are on Instagram, that's where you should be focusing your attention. My people are audio and video, and I'm just starting. I've always been quite into video, but I've been reluctant to put it out there because I thought, well, I'm a podcaster. I don't want to be on video as well. But now I realise that that's a big place that I should be going. So we're creating Join Up Dots TV. There you go. And bringing a sort of different aspect into it. But you don't have to be everywhere anymore, do you? You just have to be where your people are congregating. Yeah.
And I think part of Pat's idea about that, I've seen Pat speak a couple times, and he does speak on, be everywhere. It's when you create those relationships and when you really truly make an impact on somebody's life, they will be your evangelist, right? So you get to be everywhere, but it's not because you're actually everywhere. And I think
but can you do that? Jumping in. Can you do that though, or are you just a diluted version of yourself? If you're trying to get your message by word of mouth so people become evangelists for you, that's not really being yourself, is it?
No. But if it turns people on to then coming back to you for your message, then I think it can be effective. Now, again, it's not like I would sit a slew of people down and say, okay, I want you guys to all go out and talk about me and blah 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 blah, right? But when they're genuinely excited about their experience with me, their results that they got with working with me, and they go and talk about me, well, that's fantastic. I'll take that all day because guess what? It doesn't take any extra energy on my part. And then, that's the whole idea of referral marketing, right? But do you want to put all your energy into second tier, third tier, fourth tier, sort of talking points about you? Well, no, but if you're making such an incredible impact that ripple does carry on, that's not a bad thing.
Well, let's play some words, and then we're going to jump back into that because I like this ripple. I like this selling by fascinating. Here's Jim Carrey.
My father could have been a great comedian, but he didn't believe that was possible for him. And so he made a conservative choice. Instead, he got a safe job as an accountant. And when I was 12 years old, he was let go from that safe job. And our family had to do whatever we could to survive. I learned many great lessons from my father, not the least of which was that you can fail at what you don't want. So you might as well take a chance on doing what you love.
Now, I would kind of change that now, and I've listened to that maybe 300 times now, and I think that you go not for what you love because you don't know what you love, but at least what excites you. And I think that's a key thing. Now, what you was talking about is when you are excited about working with your client and you over deliver and you're really in the flow and delivering big time. That's where it all comes together, isn't it? That's where strengths, commitment, professionalism, it all becomes a big pile that just excites you and you can't help over delivering.
Yeah, exactly. And I was talking to someone the other day about whenever I talk about strengths and about bringing people's best them, their Superman out, right? I start to kind of sweat a little bit because I get so excited about their ahas and about helping them to really see themselves in a different light. And the story with Jim Carrey's dad, like, what if he had the courage to actually do, what he had wanted to do? What would that look like? What would that have looked like for his family? Now, it also, let's just say this, it also might have looked like total poverty because maybe he wasn't that funny. Maybe he wasn't a great comedian. Who really knows? But his dad never tried. So some people just have a more cautious approach to their life, and that has to do with, some of their strengths and how that's set up. And some people have a more, ambitious and risk-taking approach. But you can still take risk no matter which of those two personalities you are. One is going to be a little bit more calculated and has, maybe some backups. And the other one's going to be like, I quit my job yesterday. All right, I'm going to go figure it out. Right? So you can take risk your way, but don't just not do.
Yeah, do or not do, there is no try, as Yoda says. And I held back from doing the accent. I always try to do a Yoda impression if I can, and I held back for that moment. So where you look at yourself, because it's very easy to see you on one side of the fence, me on the other side of the fence, and the listeners kind of think they've got it sorted. But in entrepreneur land, there's no sorted. You're just constantly pushing into the unknown. And even though you go over to the website and it looks sexy and all glamorous and everything seems to be tied up, still, that's where the business is at this moment. The next stage is scary zone. How do you move forward into that scary zone? How do you confront your fears? Because you never get over it, do you? I'm literally scared every day as I'm doing this.
Yeah. There is. There's always a new level, new devil. That's one of my favorite sayings is you never actually arrive. You just get to a new comfort. And so no matter how big your comfort zone is, you can stretch that and then be in that growth zone. So, no growth happens in the comfort zone and no comfort in the growth zone, that kind of idea. But, how do I overcome fear is I have a conversation with it. And that's going to sound a little crazy, but sometimes that fear has legitimate concerns, right? Like, hey, if you take this risk and, you could potentially, not have the money to pay for your mortgage next month and your children need a place to live. Like, okay, thank you for that concern. What do I need to do in order to make sure my children have a roof over their heads, right? And, versus, well, if you do this, you might fail. And you can kind of parse apart, is this a rational fear that has, that needs action steps behind it? Or is this just a what if fear? Is this a worry sort of fear? So if you can sort of separate yourself from that fear for just a little bit and have a conversation with it, because fear, you're not supposed to stamp out fear. You're not supposed to get rid of fear. You're supposed to move with it. Because fear is what keeps us alive. Fear is what keeps us at the age of 3 from running out into the middle of the street, because our mother told us, if you run out in the street, you're going to, smush like a pancake. And, then they saw a cat on the side of the road, like, oh, that cat ran out in the street. And now, so that fear is a good thing and it keeps us alive. However, it also can keep us absolutely frozen. So what type of fear are you dealing with?
Because I find fear is easier to deal with. I have a recording studio at the back of the garden, as they say, and I come up here and I lock myself away, and this is where I run Join Up Dots. And when I'm up here, I'm all powerful. Nothing can stop me, and I make bold decisions, and we're actually spending thousands on the next stage of Join Up Dots, and it's money that I could use for other stuff, but I want it to sort of be invested back into the business and stuff. And as I'm sitting here talking about it, it's fine. it's fine, Alissa. I don't mind spending those thousands. And then I'm sitting watching Netflix one evening, and I'm sitting there, and then I'm like scaredy cat in the house.
Right.
It's like a different person. It's like I can deal with anything when I've surrounded myself with the environment of creation. But when I'm just David again, and I'm not a podcasting person, I find it very, very difficult, and I sit there and I sort of struggle. Do you have people that you can sort of reach out to and say, look, I'm really struggling with this? Because in entrepreneur land, more often than not, our closest family don't understand really. They understand that mum wants to do something. They understand that dad wants to do something, but they don't really understand why you want to do it, why you want to be spending thousands on that when you could be taking a family to Orlando for 2 weeks. You know, they don't understand it. Who do you have to reach out when those fears start grabbing you?
Yeah, I'm a part of a mastermind group, and we meet every other week, and we get together and we push each other on, okay, what are you up to next, and what's going on, what's holding you back. And it's a safe place where we can be completely vulnerable and also get pushed to that next level, and have that sounding board for, what do you guys think? Like, this is what I'm afraid of, or this is what is holding me back here, or this is what happened. So I think it's important to have people who are in your space, but that are better than you. Let's say they're further along. So kind of a mentoring sort of thing, but also, peers as well, that like they're in that same space, because, as you mentioned, I come from a healthcare background. So many of my close friends are nurses. And, nursing is one of the most stable of all professions. And so my nursing friends, they don't understand, why I would have ever ventured into entrepreneurship that is not stable, because nursing is so stable. Like, why would you ever go there? They don't get it. So when I am having fear about launching a new product or launching a membership site or doing some of these other things, I am not going to go to those gals because they don't understand but I am going to go to the people who have either come before me, right, or who and have already done what I'm looking to do, or are in the same space. We're like, yep, I totally get it. So, they say misery likes company. And that's not what I'm talking about. Like, I'm not talking about, and there's time for that. Go to the bar and have a beer and commiserate. But I'm talking about people who can talk you off the ledge, who can give you a rational outside perspective when you can't have that rational conversation with your own fear because you're just too far in the weeds. So a mastermind is what I'm currently doing there. I also have a one-on-one coach who helps me to get through some of those fears, because there is, she's got that outside perspective for me, I
do know, totally. And as you was talking, I was reflecting, because I like to do it all myself. I like to just plow through, and I gain strength from failure. I like to fail because I feel like I learn more from the failures than the successes, and I sort of plow through. But I also had this kind of thing, which I'm going to sort of pose to you as well, that 50% of what I left my corporate gig for, I would never go back for. But 50%, I look back on it and I think, actually, it wasn't too bad now. There was a social aspect, which I don't have really now. There was a reliability of salary. Every month it would turn up, Did you look back on the nursing time and actually think, oh, actually, yeah, I could go back. I could moonlight 1 month on, 1 month off, or is there an absolutely no-go?
It's so funny. I've had that experience so many times it's hard to count, right? Because, man, that stability and that, the salary, and nurses make really good money. I was making really, really good money. And I thought, well, maybe I could just work on the weekends, or maybe I could. And then I think about the reality of that. And I don't want to punch a clock. I don't want, to be dragged into the manager's office for being 6 minutes late. I don't want that. And so, there are those comforts, and that's one of those decisions that you have to make. What is most important to me? Where are my values? What is the thing that will give me peace? And for some people, it is, a nursing career for 30 years because it's exactly what they thrive on. I don't thrive on that anymore.
I could never go back. I could never, ever, and I'm going to say this to anyone out there, you can offer me £1 billion to come and work for you. I'm not going to do it. If you then tell me that I've got to be at my desk by 9 o'clock in the morning, it's not going to happen. I just can't go back. I think I've got a mate. Well, it's kind of loosely mate. He was a big inspiration at the very beginning, and Michael O'Neill, who hosts the Solopreneur Hour, and one of his taglines is job security for the unemployable. And I think that's brilliant. I think that's such a good slogan, because there is a point to you when you know it would be easier, I could get a job, all these kind of things. I would rather fill up shelves in a supermarket at midnight just to earn an extra bit of money if it meant I could invest it back into my business than getting a proper job.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. And that is the thing about entrepreneurs is once you venture there, all of a sudden you realize, no, this freedom is really what I do want. The irony is that, of course, then we hire a coach that, we don't want anyone to tell us what to do. And then we hire a coach that helps us to know what to do and tells us what to do. Right. And
how did you get over that? Because that's a big cost. And I know that people look at that and go, especially in the strap line, at the very beginning when they're bootstrapping a business, the last thing they want to do is pay for help when there's YouTube. They don't want to do that. They can Google answers. They don't need to go there and fast track themselves. How did you sort of overcome that? Because that's probably the biggest investment that you've had in yourself.
Yeah, most definitely. And the reason is because what is the outcome going to be? I have watched a 1.5 million YouTube videos and, read lots of books and all of that. But the glory comes in the implementation of those things. And sometimes you just don't know what you don't know. And you can't see that in yourself. So to have that outside perspective, okay, I'm here right now. In 90 days, I want to be here. I've been working on that same goal for the last 2.5 years, and I can't get there. I haven't been able to get there on myself. What is the cost of me not hiring a coach? That is really the bigger question. If this coach can get me to that place in 90 days, then the ROI is 100% there. And the cool thing about self-development is that you can take it with you even forward. So it's not like you just take it, you do the 90 days or, 6 months, whatever the coaching program is, and then it's done and you don't see any more results. The better you are, the more that compounds throughout the rest of your life. So a great coach will ask you lots and lots of questions about where do you want to go? What are your goals? What are the things that are holding you back before they'll even take you on? Because they want to know, am I the coach that can help you through and to get to that goal? And, if the answer is no, they won't take you on. And that's a great coach that will actually say no to you, right? Because then when the time comes when you are ready for that particular coach, you know that person can actually get you to your goals instead of just saying, oh, you're willing to pay me? Fantastic. Let me sell you some snake oil and we'll get started. So, there are good coaches out there and there are not so great coaches out there. But having that conversation beforehand instead of just jumping in, and that's something that I've learned from my own personal experience. Like, ooh, this looks shiny and bright and amazing, and they're promising awesome things. Jump in and then realize, oh, that's not what I needed. Maybe they were a great coach and it just wasn't what I needed. Or this person is selling hope and unfortunately not results.
I actually do very limited one-on-one coaching because I make it very, very difficult for somebody to actually get through to me, basically. And that's the first obstacle. If you can get through to me and actually speak to me one-to-one, then you're halfway there. And I find that is a remarkable way of sorting the wheat from the chaff, mining the gold, putting obstacles in ways of people. I used to, I do a podcasting training course, which we're going to be doing it 1 month on, 1 month off. And I started to take off all contact details for my coaching. And people made extreme effort to try to get through to me by going onto this website and that website and stuff, and I used to find it fascinating. So I make it very difficult just so that when the person comes through to me, they really want to sort of deal with me.
Because then you're getting the qualities that you're looking for as a coach too. Someone who's willing to go the extra mile, someone who's willing to press themselves out of their own comfort zone, someone who's willing to take responsibility for their own actions instead of sitting back and waiting for you to give them a magic pill.
Well, but before we just send you back in time on the Sermon on the Mic, of course, we're going to listen to the words of Steve Jobs. But one of the things that bothers so many coaches is when you are setting out a plan, you're setting out actions for people to work on, and they come back a week later and they go, oh, I watched House of Cards for 4 nights and I actually haven't done anything. How do you deal with that when you can see that somebody... You feel like you're taking their money for no reason. You're working with them, but they're not really sort of following through on their side.
So I have had clients that I have fired and just said, I this isn't working. Now it's not on that first conversation. So they're in, and I just had this conversation with a client who committed to doing some things and then didn't get them done and didn't get them done for like several days. Now, I always co-create those action items with them, right? They're the ones that committed to it. It's not me, like with a ruler standing over them. But so the first question I have is, why not? So what barriers did you bump up to that you didn't want to do that? Because usually it's a fear issue.
House of Cards. Well, what if they come back with that? And then there's Breaking Bad as well. And I've got to finish up Breaking Bad.
Right. So those are diversionary tactics, right? They're wasting time because they either don't know how to move or aren't motivated to move. So what is the motivation behind not doing what you know is best for your business and completely wasting that, right? So what is that self-sabotage all about? So I will take the time to get to the base of that. Now, if it's laziness, that's the time where I tell them, hey, I'm sorry, but this isn't the right thing. You're not going to get the results that you want. And that doesn't work for me in my coaching practice either. So I have to work. And this is, what the conversation I had before I ever take them on in the first place is, I work with people who are willing to get outside their comfort zone, take action on what we discover in the coaching process so that you can actually reach your goals. If you're not taking that action, if you just hired me as I was supposed to hire a coach and so that's what you thought, well, then this isn't going to work. And that's the time to fire that client.
I'm not going to play the Steve Jobs speech because I'm now interested in this part of the conversation. So so they come through to you and you're a bit stroppy and you sort of stand over them with a ruler and are you a kind of what? How do you say it? Dominatrix? Well, what is that kind of what is that word I'm thinking of?
Yes, you're thinking of the word dominatrix. No, that is not what I do.
How do you know that word better than me, Alissa? That's what I want to know, first of all. You seem to master that.
That is a conversation for a different time.
So how do you get them to do that? How do you get them to keep on delivering to you? Because the motivation does die, doesn't it? You start off and you go, oh, this is going to be brilliant. It's going to be life-changing. And how do you keep that motivation going for your clients?
Well, number one, you have to keep the goal. And so often that goal can fall off or, you hit a hiccup and you go, oh, well, maybe I can't, right? You have these crises of confidence in your ability. And now I'm speaking as the client. You have your crisis of confidence in your ability to actually reach that goal. And so it is the coach's job to bring that right back and say, hey, remember, this is what you're working for. And these are all the reasons why. Now, if you haven't done that work to figure out what is the motivation here, why is this important? If it's just a goal for the sake of a goal, well, no wonder you've fallen off motivation because there wasn't any purpose behind it. So that's, a key important thing is reviewing, like, where are you on this goal? And remember, this is the goal. And then, not letting them off the hook when crap does come up, because it's going to. We all have limiting beliefs. We all have, a certain amount of fear of success and a certain amount of fear of failure. And, all of these other things that are around that's all in the subconscious, and we can't necessarily access it all on our own. So, clients will come back and be like, I have no idea. I honestly have no idea why I didn't get my action items done. Okay, well, let's dig in, right? So you co-create it though. So I get shoulder to shoulder with my clients. Like I never look at them in the face and go, oh, why? And wag my finger in their face and go, why didn't you do this stuff? But it's like, all right, let's dig in together. You want the answer to this. I want the answer to this. We're on the same team here. Let's get through this together.
So it is it's you and them. It's not you just telling them what to do and they go out and do it. They really have got your support all the way through.
Bingo. And that's the key with coaching. The difference between coaching and training is coaching is all their agenda. It's all what they want. You're just going to help them get there. Training is, you come in and you just tell them, you're going to do A, B, C, and D. Go do it. But it doesn't take them into consideration. So you do want to know whether you're in training mode or coaching mode. And there are times where I tell clients, hey, look, from my experience and from what you're going through, this is what you need to do. I'm putting my training hat on now, and I want you to just go do these things and trust me. And so that hat will get popped on every now and again, but 90% of the time I'm in coaching mode, and I always kind of let them know, hey, training hat's going on. I'm about to tell you what to do.
Because my definition of training and coaching, I used to be a trainer for years and years, and I did quite a lot of corporate coaching as well, is basically training is I'm going to tell you something and teach you something that you don't know how to do. And coaching, I'm going to get you to be better at what you can already do. And that's basically it.
Precisely. Yep, exactly.
God, I'm good, and am I not good? How I summarised that? I'll tell you what, I shouldn't bring this episode to an end. I should just keep on going, bringing out this wisdom, these words of, this is what people want from Join Up Dance. They don't want rambling content. They want me to sound professional and knowledgeable.
They want that. It just depends on if you give them that.
How dare
I'm just kidding.
you?
You're amazing.
See, and you said that last night when the wife went out. So thank you. Thank you for both times. Well, this is the part of the show where we send you back in time to have a one-on-one with your younger self. And if you could go back in time and speak to the young Alissa, what age would you choose and what advice would you give? Well, we're going to find out because I'm going to play the theme, and when it fades, you're up. This is the Sermon on the Mic.
Here we go with the best bit of the show, the Sermon on the Mic, the Sermon on the Mic.
Okay. I am taking myself back to my 15-year-old Alissa, who is absolutely confident but 100% unsure all at the same time. And the advice that I would give that sweet, sassy girl is that she's okay. And not just okay in that moment, but that she is actually perfectly imperfect, and we weren't meant to be perfectly perfect. So it's okay to excel at the places that she naturally does, and that the failures that she's experiencing are not ultimate failures. I was a gymnast growing up, and I was reasonably talented, but I certainly wasn't hugely talented. And I worked my tail end off and still didn't find that ultimate success that I was looking for. And I thought that it reflected on my worthiness as a human. And it took me lots and lots of years to get over that and to realize that what I do is not reflective of my worth as a human, nor is it reflective on my future successes. And so to help that 15-year-old girl understand that, this failure is not an ultimate failure. It's just a little blip in the road.
Great stuff. And what's the number one best way that our audience who've been listening today can connect with you?
They can go right over to my website. It's daretasucceed.com. It's DAIRE, the number 2, succeed.com. And, David, would it be okay if I gave your audience a digital copy of my book?
You can give them anything you want, and if they get a spanking with that ruler, I think they're going to really go for it.
Well, I would love to get a digital copy of my book into your hot little hands, just so you can go through what does this process look like and reflect on that. And, this is a book that is truly from my heart, and I want to share that with your people. So if you go to daretosucceed.com/joinupdots, it'll take you right over, and you can grab a digital version of the book for free right to your inbox. So DAIRE succeed.com/joinupdots.
We will have all the links on the show notes. Alissa, thank you so much for spending time with us today, joining up those dots. And please come back again when you have more dots to join up, because I do believe that by joining up the dots and connecting our past is the best way to build our futures. Alissa, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. This was awesome.
Alissa Daire Nelson. She is a delight. She is absolutely a delight. And if you could feel the passion coming through, it's because she's doing what's right for her. And she knows it, and she's in that process of building it and developing it. But once you know it's your thing, you're playing to your strengths, you really can't go wrong. Yeah, okay, you might struggle with the sort of social media aspects, you might struggle with the websites, you might struggle with all that kind of stuff, but that can be outsourced. Other people can do that. You just got to do the thing that's right for you, the thing that sort of really lights you up and gets you excited. She's doing that, I'm doing that, and little by little, somebody out there is going to start doing it, because I get more and more emails from people that are inspired to go out and do their own thing, and that is what we will be helping you with on the next revamp of Join Up Dots. We have got a lot of coaching and platforms ready to build that will help you out, and it will start you on the right track. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Join Up Dots, and once again, we'll see you again soon. Cheers. See ya. Bye-bye.
David doesn't want you to become a faded version of the brilliant self you were once to become. So he's put together an amazing guide for you called the 8 Pieces of Advice That Every Successful Entrepreneur Practices, including the 2 that changed his life. Head over to joinupdots.com to download this amazing guide for free, and we'll see you tomorrow on Join Up Dots.